Alright, come join Kyle, John and David as they go through what's on the playlist, find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest, in and out points, no celebs and the gossip, back in time where we're talking about the big M's, coming attractions, what the cue, quick checks, who'll be laughing, you abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with too many else with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is...
John Berwick, and the third one is...
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I am the coming attraction to John's quick checks, to the guy that makes us say, what the Q, Dave.
Yeah.
You're the Q master.
I am the Q master. Yeah, what the Q? What is this episode? This week it's a little bit of a grab bag, a little bit of everything. We got a lot of stuff going on. Last week we predicted the Oscars. Next week we have the Oscars. We have this weird middle show, and it's gonna be filled with all the segments Kyle mentioned. We got coming attractions, what the Q. I'm already forgetting the other one. Quick checks and there's one more, John. I'm forgetting it. What is it?
In and out points.
It's funny that I actually remember in and out points, but I forgot the other segment this week. Yeah. That was a legitimate wait, what was that segment? Okay, here we go. In and out points. The first one this week, I mentioned last week we predicted the Oscars. Well, we had to predict a couple of those categories, Best Original and Best Adapted Screenplay, without really knowing too much because we're waiting on the Writers Guild of America. And well, those awards have happened. Now we know where those winners are, where they're going with those results, but will they even actually help us anyways when it comes to the Oscars? So let's look at Best Original Screenplay and Best Adapted Screenplay. Those are the main two for the WGA Film Awards. Everything Everywhere All at Once won for Original Screenplay, and Women Talking won for Adapted Screenplay. Thoughts on that, Kyle?
I think we mentioned it during the Oscar podcast that Women Talking, this feels like it could be one that this is what they get it for. So I'm not surprised by that. But I think it's going to be an Everything Everywhere All at Once night. Yeah. That's what it looks like it's shaping up to be. And I wouldn't be surprised if they really clean house in a lot of categories this time around. It just seems like a juggernaut at this point.
Yeah, it really picked up the steam at the right moment. We had both of these as dark horses because we haven't really had a real showdown yet between our will wins. That's the issue with this, where they're not eligible for the WGA. Our two will wins, Banshees of Inisherin and All Quiet on the Western Front. They're just not eligible in this category. So it's tough because, it could be an Everything Everywhere All at Once night. It's just doing extremely well. The voting is happening now, or maybe it's just finishing up. It's just the perfect timing with that. I still think there's a chance with Banshees. That could be the award it does win. And same, adapted screenplay. What worried me with Women Talking, because it was one of those picks where it was as I think Mark mentioned, the mind versus the heart. And this was kind of my gut was kind of telling me Women Talking for this award. But then I looked at the data and my head was telling me, well, All Quiet, won the BAFTA for screenplay. Sure, the BAFTAs loved that film, but they've been matching. Coda last year won the BAFTA over Power of the Dog, which got Critics' Choice. Just like Women Talking got Critics' Choice. But Coda won the Oscar. So I'm just well, maybe they're more in line than the Writers Guild. But at the end of the day, All Quiet hasn't been up against Women Talking. Everything Everywhere All at Once hasn't gone up against Banshees, really, head-to-head yet. That's going to happen at the Oscars. So,
yeah, and I mean, we have to go back to war movies. Oscars really the war movies usually. I mean, the All Quiet on the Western Front has already been adapted once before, right? So, I mean, it's got that kind of People know about that. I mean, I'm not too familiar with Women Talking. That's not to say that it isn't popular, but I think All Quiet on the Western Front, I think it's a more recognizable name. So maybe that in and of itself pushes it forward. But yeah, it's going to be a tough call, I think.
Yeah, because with Women Talking, that took forever to get on anything for you could watch it. Like, it finally is on like video on demand and rentals this week. Meanwhile, All Quiet on the Western Front's been on Netflix, ready to go.
Yeah.
You can stream it at any point, and you can kind of see.
They've already been doing like their Oscar, rollout campaign. So,
and you saw it with some of the numbers. They got so many nominations. Meanwhile, Women Talking only got 2: picture and screenplay. It's not going to win picture, so this is the best chance it has with screenplay. We'll see if it can do it, but it's going to be interesting to see. We got to wait on that, but let's talk quickly about television, because they also have the WGAs for television. And for that, Severance won big. It won for drama series and for new series. Meanwhile, The Bear won for comedy series. And then other winners include Hacks for episodic comedy episode, and then Better Call Saul for the episodic drama episode. And then White Lotus also won for limited series. So those were your big winners. Surprise, no Abbott Elementary, really. I mean, he was kind of taken over by Severance winning new series and The Bear winning comedy series. But
I mean, this goes back to, we really got to rework this because The Bear is not really a comedy, man. I mean,
just because it's a half hour doesn't make it a comedy.
Yeah, they've really got to reconfigure how they do these things, because I think it really it's like category swapping or like category fraud. It is that so much. I don't know how. There are comedic elements to certain episodes, but it is heavily drama in parts, and the insights into this guy's life and why he is feeling the way he is. I mean, it's all centered around like his brother's death, which is deeply affecting him. So I don't know. I think they got to rework the categories somehow when it comes to television, because a lot of good TV is being made, like Atlanta, and The Bear, and all these comedic type shows having heavy drama in it, and they need to figure out a category of how they're going to rework this.
Yeah, and that's specifically my main complaint with like the White Lotus. It won here for limited series, and what a mess it's going to be this next year when it comes to the Emmys. Because just to give you a quick little rundown, it was a limited series for season 2 at the Globes and here at the WGAs. It was a drama series at the Producers Guild and Screen Actors Guild. It was a comedy at the Directors Guild Awards. Pick a lane, guys. Like, we got to figure out what this thing is. But the TV Academy has said it's not allowing it this year to be in the limited series category. So HBO is putting it in drama, which I don't like that choice for 2 reasons. One, I think it's more of a satire. It's a dark satire, that's for sure, but it's mostly funny. I mean, you can't watch the finale and with what happens to one of the main characters there and how that person goes and not tell me that's funny. Like, even the creators are like, I just wanted, kind of a derpy ending for this character. That was a direct quote.
Yeah.
So, like, that's where I'm annoyed that way. It should be considered a comedy, but also for HBO, because they are loaded this year with dramas.
Yeah.
If you look at their roster for the Emmys, they got the final season of Succession, House of the Dragon, The Last of Us, and now The White Lotus. That's 4. That's like that's half or maybe even the majority of the category just from HBO. Like, will that even allow space for like The Crown or Better Call Saul to even get in? Like,
it's gonna be a tight category,
especially when you have all the because let's say for supporting actor in a drama series, you got to compete against all the House of Dragon people, all of the Succession ensemble, all of the White Lotus ensemble. Like, sorry, Ray Seahorn and Jonathan Banks, there's not going to be room for you, because also we have the Crown people to worry about. Like, too many. Yeah. It's too many.
Yeah.
Well, I also just think about like, HBO is cleaning house with all these Emmy type shows, and Discovery is still fronting that whole merger. So make it make sense for us.
That's true. But yeah, if they just like put the White Lotus in comedy, I think they would have a much better shot just to at least spread nominations out so you can have like a really big nomination morning with all the the numbers. But nobody asked me.
I wonder if they have to get that worked out with the creator. Like, hey, like we want to put it in this category. Are you okay with that? I don't know. I don't see why he wouldn't. He would be
I was gonna say Mike White. I would be surprised because he'd be like, yeah, I'm not going up against Succession and The Last of Us and House of the Dragon. Like, screw that. But and then here's the interesting thing: what happens? Let's say hypothetically, that like Jennifer Coolidge isn't in the third season, and it's all new people. Well, then could it go back to limited series? Like, maybe.
What a mess.
I don't know.
What an absolute mess.
Yeah, but we talked about TV. To just go back to like the Oscar-ness, of movies, I want to talk about James Cameron. He has Avatar 2 up for the Oscars this year. It doesn't look like it's going to be happening for him for Best Picture. He's not going to win it this year, but he still has that win from Titanic. And it's hard to believe it's been over 25 years since the film Titanic. And recently, National Geographic aired Titanic 25 years later with James Cameron. And in this special, they kind of went through some tests. They made a huge admission. Like James Cameron said, you know what? Fans have been debating this for years. I'll set the record straight. Jack may have been able to survive that ending. And they ran some tests, and we got a little clip here of the tests they went through to figure this out.
Re-examine Jack's final scene. Cameron and a team of scientists took 2 stunt people and tested 4 different scenarios to see if the 2 could have shared that board.
Jack and Rose are able to get on the raft, but now they're both submerged in dangerous levels of freezing water.
The consensus? Jack likely wouldn't survive. Then they find a position where both of their upper bodies are out of the water.
Out of the water with violent shaking was helping him. And projecting it out, he could have made it pretty long, like hours.
But they're not exhausted like in the film. So for the final test, they factor in the physical strain the characters endured leading up to this point.
Jack swims over.
Jack!
And 1, 2, 3.
And this time, Rose offers the life jacket to help insulate her man.
And he stabilized.
He got into a place where if we projected that out, he just might have made it until the lifeboat got there.
Cameron's verdict?
Jack might have lived, but there's a lot of variables. I think his thought process was, I'm not going to do one thing that jeopardizes her. And that's 100% in character.
All right, Dr. Cameron on the case, doing the scientific research here. John, what do you think?
The answer, after much research, is we're not sure. Maybe. All right, thanks. Thanks, James Cameron. Good job. Spend another $4 billion to figure that out.
Yeah,
I know. So this is what he was doing with all his time. You thought he was making Avatar. He was just doing research for the Titanic.
He was in a small pool with these stunt doubles who were. The male actor was very good. I was believing it. He was very cold. Like I don't know what the water temperature was, but he looked visibly cold there. And I love like the test of like the splashing with water. Now they're exhausted. Here's water in your face. Water in your face. Okay.
Yeah.
But. Yeah.
They're like, James, you need to get back to Avatar. He's like, wait, there's an unsettled question that needs answering.
I'm in the wrong
that film
pool.
I made 25 years ago. I want people to stop coming up to me on the street saying Jack could have made it on that door. But like, what's interesting is MythBusters actually did this like 6 years ago.
I was going to say, this sounds like a MythBusters thing.
They already busted this. And supposedly with that one, like they tried to have them both on the door, and yes, it does submerge the door down, so they are more in the cold water. But the Mythbusters figured out if you actually take the life jacket, put it underneath it, tie it to the thing, it actually makes the buoyancy of the door work. I don't know if Kate Winslet.
Do you think Jack was thinking about that?
No,
when he was worried about Kate Winslet. Come on,
true.
dude.
That's true. But
I still remember.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say nothing to do with the Titanic, but I still remember hearing a story about a dude that was so drunk from being on the Titanic that his blood was so hot that he actually survived.
So I guess alcohol solves all of our problems. That's the moral of the story. But so this goes back to like one of my complaints about the Avatar films, because, you know, surely, you know, people want them. It made money. I get it. But like, I haven't seen one meme or clip or joke or anything about Avatar or Avatar 2 on social media. But these films, 25 years later, people are still talking about it, debating it. It's like there's a cultural relevance, I feel like, to this. Meanwhile, there's 6 hours of Avatar content just in movies. And like, again,
well, I think
name 3 characters right now. Go. It's like
no, I'm not going. I'm not doing that. But I think that there's a two-parter to that. It's like, well, when Titanic was coming out, it's the late 90s. And I mean, we're still all kind of one culture. Like we're all watching the same stuff. You know what I mean? We're not like splitting it up. And also the second part is I think the Avatar is supremely forgettable.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we were talking about the first film, like what happened in the first film. I don't even really remember. So we're going on to 2. There's going to be 3 or 4. To me, it just feels like a thing for a resort or for Disneyland or Disney World to have another thing. That's really what it feels like to me. If James Cameron, if that's what he was going for, that's great, because he did talk about building this world, but I don't know if that world is necessarily great for films. It might be great in video games or like these different attractions that they might build for it, but I don't know if it's great for the films. You know, they're great films.
I agree. Well, dating even further back from the Titanic film is the Scream franchise, and number 6 is coming this Friday, Scream 6. And Ghostface has been appearing and staring directly into cameras of predominant live feeds across the country, including in California, where the first Scream film was filmed. It was also spotted in Arizona during some freak blizzard. And it's believed to be going across the country to New York City, because that is where Scream 6 is going to be set. Local residents, of course, have called the police over these sightings. But what do you think about Ghostface, I guess, appearing on all these like live feeds across the country?
I mean, yeah, I would be scared. It reminds me of, remember when those clowns were everywhere?
Oh, for Pennywise?
The clowns that were popping up?
God.
Yeah, I mean, I would be freaked out. I'd be like, what the hell? I have no idea who's under that mask. I don't care if it's a marketing ploy.
There's got to be a great marketing firm out there that's like under the radar, is doing, you know, hired a couple clowns, hired somebody to travel across the U.S. in the costume. It's like the best news is like news that makes itself, right? It's not something you have to force or pay for. It's just make other people do the work for you. And if this is a marketing ploy, which I'm assuming it is, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is like a marketing point. I'm assuming it is. But like also at a certain point, like, could there be like copycats?
A super
because
fan.
like anyone could. This thing's been around for 25 plus years.
That's
many people have a Scream mask and like whatever, a black robe, and just go outside and you could be a part of this too, which causes issues, because it's like, well, then if anyone's doing it, if that person does something wrong, like, does it make it part of your promotional tour now? Like, the copycat issue could be there, but yeah, people are assuming that it is a marketing tactic from Paramount. That's the same studio that recently did that kind of demon thing from Smile. There was that horror film Smile, and at all like the MLB games, they had, you know, somebody like staring directly into the camera behind, you know, the action, or, you know, a reporter just right into the camera. So that's something similar with this. But yeah, it's creepy.
It's definitely creepy. I mean, it is a way to build it, but I go along with John. It's like, well, if people are going to willingly market this stuff for us, because what could go wrong? I mean,
I got a second.
You know, well, yeah, I mean, like, it is supposed to be a horror movie, so like if something were to like happen that was bad, it would be like, well, this character is that bad guy, you know what I mean? So it's like very limited bad press, I feel like, that could come from it, unless
any publicity is good publicity, I guess.
Unless whoever is in the mask ends up dead, that would be terrible. But yeah, no, it's creepy, man. It's just so creepy because this mask is like, it's very recognizable.
Yeah. And that's why I was like so scary, even like in Scream 2 when it starts off at the stab screening and they're all wearing like the costumes and stuff, and obviously there's one that's actually the killer there, and it's just like, you know, everyone mimicking the stab motions, and it's like, it's scary, and I can't even imagine if I was just let me check out my home security feed for a second here. Oh, what is this on my lawn? Okay.
Oh my God.
But no thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're talking a little bit about Paramount. I want to move back to Warner Brothers Discovery. I have a bunch of stuff to talk about with them because they announced some, you know, we're in the era of new Screams, and soon we're going to be in the era of more Lord of the Rings films. Warner Brothers Discovery has brokered a deal to make multiple films based on J.R.R. Tolkien's books. While no filmmakers are attached, Peter Jackson and his main Lord of the Rings collaborators have said Warner Brothers have kept them in the loop every step of the way, which we know was not the case for the Amazon's Lord of the Rings series. So, what do you think about this? I know Kyle's our resident Lord of the Rings expert here. Are you excited for...
Expert is loose, yeah.
Are you excited for more Lord of the Rings?
Honestly, I'm scared more than excited. I'm just... After the Rings of Power, I did not love the Rings of Power. It's not just going to be money that's going to make this thing. You got to have a vision, I feel like, moving forward. And with the original Lord of the Rings, the cast and the performances were so good, not to mention the care that Peter Jackson put into it, the locations. It's going to be tough to top. And part of, I think, the charm of the Lord of the Rings is the locations, and it wasn't all CGI. They built some of those locations up, the structures up, and stuff like that. So
practical miniatures,
yeah. So I'm honestly scared. I don't know. It depends on what part of the story they're picking up from. And I hope that if they do, the cast is really, really good, because in the first set of movies, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I don't want to worry, but I have a scary viral tweet that went around about one of these possible films that they could be doing, a musical set film called Bombadil, guess who's playing the title character? You guessed it, James Corden. But don't worry, it's not true yet. It went viral, but get this out of here. But yeah, I mean, he's no stranger to the Lord of the Rings. I saw he made it far in the auditions for Samwise for the original film. So he was involved. So he could be for round 2. We'll see. But these films, they've made it clear that they're not remakes. But a source did tell the Hollywood Reporter that Warner Brothers in the Discovery hopes that they can turn the Lord of the Rings into like a Star Wars like franchise, which like really begs the question, like, is there enough meat on this bone for both Amazon and Warner Brothers Discovery? I know that they're very rich texts, but like, you know, Amazon already committed to 50 hours of programming for the Rings of Power for the main show. I mean, who knows what other spin-offs that they could be doing. But then Warner Brothers Discovery has these 6 films based on the 4 books. And I believe this is all like the Warner Brothers Discovery deal is the adaptation rights for Lord of the Rings and Hobbit books. Like that's what they're doing. So if they're not remaking movies, are they finding other things in those books and other stories that are mentioned? It's very confusing.
Yeah, dude. I have no idea. What if they just do a straight up remake of it? That would be insane.
Yeah, they say they're not, but that would be... I wouldn't put it past them. It's just...
How long ago was it? 20 years, maybe?
I guess. Well, wow, it really has been 20 years. That's
from
insane.
The first one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, wasn't it like 2000... Or no, 99... I don't know, what was it? 2001, 2002, 2003? Was it that quick or no? Am I
No,
crazy?
it was separate. I think it was separated by a couple of years. I don't think it was year after year.
Let's see if I can find the films here. Lord of the Rings. Oh, this is fascinating podcasting working here. You got them, John?
Yeah, 2001.
2001. Yeah. Well, it actually was 2001, 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
So 20 years ago.
Nowadays, takes James Cameron make 15 years to make one Avatar. Like,
yeah.
Meanwhile, Peter Jackson's cranking these out once a year. But,
well, I think he shot them all together.
Well, yeah, like 6 years to film all three.
But
or something.
But still, they edit the effects, the marketing to get those things out. That's pretty good. Got to give it to him.
Could you imagine the amount of time he had to put in as a director for this? It had to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Well, I don't know. Lord of the Rings isn't the only Warner Brothers property getting more content. We got a sequel and a prequel to talk about still. Let's start off with the sequel, I Am Legend 2. A sequel to the 2007 film I Am Legend is in development, and this time, Michael B. Jordan will be joining star Will Smith in this film. It's unclear how Jordan will fit into the story, but it is believed to be leaning more into the Richard Matheson novel that the original film was based on, and also possibly another HBO property, but we'll get to that in a minute. What do you think about this news of I Am Legend 2? Are you a fan of the original, Kyle?
Yeah, I did like I Am Legend. It's I think one of Will Smith's best movies. Like it's very, very good. I'm trying to remember how it ended. Honestly,
well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, I did. I'm just confused as to how this happens with the second one, because doesn't it end where they're like trapped in the
So this
medical facility, like is under, and like the thing is coming after him?
There's two endings.
So we'll spoil it right now here. If you haven't seen I Am Legend, one of these endings is the true ending now. It's different from what it aired in the cinemas because they are going to do a different ending for this second film. The original film ended with Neville, Will Smith's character, killing himself and the Darkseekers in the lab so that the cure that he found can be saved and be given to the survivors at this camp by the two other characters that he meets along the way.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
But in this new ending, which was the alternate ending back in the day, but now it's the canon ending, Neville realizes that he is the monster for testing these subjects, and he abandons his research and heads to Vermont with Anna and Ethan, which were the two other characters, as a changed man. So he's alive in this new ending.
Okay.
But I'm just really confused how they're going to provide this to the audiences who only saw the film.
Because that's a way different.
Yeah,
that takes out the whole final scene. Yeah, that takes away the whole final scene because he gets attacked in that facility by a bunch of. So I can imagine that. How'd he sneak out? How did that happen? I don't. Wow.
Yeah, it completely changes. Yeah, the character arc, just the story, his outcome, everything, and I mentioned how it could be, based on HBO property as well. And producer Akiva Goldsman said, quote, "This will start a few decades later than the first. I'm obsessed with The Last of Us, where we see the world just post-apocalypse, but also after a 20, 30-year lapse. You see how the earth reclaims the world, and there's something beautiful in the question of, as man steps away from being the primary tenant, what happens? That will be especially visual in New York. I don't know if they climb up to the Empire State Building, but the possibilities are endless. We trace back to the original Matheson book and the alternate ending as opposed to the release ending of the original film." To me, I'm just annoyed where it's like, I like The Last of Us. I liked I Am Legend. Can these two things just be separate?
Yeah, be their own thing. Yeah.
You're already exploring these ideas in your HBO show. Now we also need to explore the same exact ideas in a movie. They were already explored in a video game. How many times do we got to explore it?
Well, when it comes to these things, isn't it like executives always want to hear what what it's familiar.
Yeah.
They want to know what's familiar because it's already had to have worked before. That's the kind of thing that you hear when these people go and pitch stuff.
Yeah.
They want to hear cash registers go ka-ching is what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll still be there watching it, probably, in the theaters, Will Smith, Michael B. Jordan. I really like the first film.
I do too.
But,
it's a great movie.
But man, I'm good with The Last of Us. Like, can we just maybe focus on a new idea here?
Yeah. And also it just makes me think of like how physical media might be more of the way to go still, because if you can just start changing endings willy-nilly all you want, like, oh, we made this movie, but hey, we thought of another good idea for it 20 years later, and we're going to switch the ending now and do something. It's like, what is happening here?
This is a whole different tangent, but like one of the things I know some Marvel fans are talking about and are worried about or maybe excited about is, the death of, I guess, spoiler, Tony Stark in Endgame. Where it's like, well, if there are multiverses and quantumaniums and all that other stuff, like if we reboot something or we pull Tony Stark from Earth 3247, it's like, well, he's back. Here he is, Iron Man. It's like, well, no, now it ruins the whole emotional climax of this other film. That's what we're gonna. Yeah, it's just. Yeah,
it almost be like, Christopher Nolan in 20 years goes back and he's like, you remember when Leonardo DiCaprio spun the top? Yeah. Well, let's see where it goes from there. And just like, it's like, all right, just leave it be.
Titanic was a dream that he had. No. I'm wondering what's going to end up on streaming. What version of the first is going to end up on streaming?
Yeah. If I had to guess, I think the other one is going away. And now we're going to go with this alternate ending because that is the true ending to set up the sequel.
They're going to track down everywhere they have this streaming and give them an alternate version, I guess. And when will they do that?
Maybe. I mean, I can't remember for sure, but I feel like this is somewhat similar. But like for The Godfather 3, Francis Ford Coppola has like edited that so many times. He's also made like this other version, like Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone. And it's like, I think the TV rights for the original version are like pulled. You don't air that one, and now you air this Coda version. So it with certain filmmakers, they can, in certain film studios, they can be like, no, you're not airing this version anymore. That's out of date. That's old. You have the rights to this one. But
wow, interesting.
Yeah. But all right, Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't end there. We're going to be talking about a prequel that they're doing. They're expanding the world of Stephen King's It. And this prequel series is Welcome to Derry. And it's from the creative team of the two movies, and we'll explore the story established in those films. That's about all we know so far. But if we look at like the canon of It, Pennywise comes out every 27 years. And it was 1989 in the first movie, 2016 in the second movie. So I guess if it's a prequel 27 years before, 1962, I guess. I guess it'll be set in the 60s. But I guess that's if it's a miniseries. Because you're kind of boxed in after that. He only comes every 27 years. That's the whole thing of Pennywise. So maybe you have to start 1881 or something and have 3 or 4 seasons before you get to the movie. I don't know. But
I just think with something like the It series, it could be oversaturation real quick.
Definitely.
Real quick. But also, I mean, if it is a prequel series, 1960s, anytime you're talking about horror or scary movies like this, it's always better before, I feel like, pre-cell phones, because there's so much more you can do with it, because it's like now I'd be like, well, why wouldn't you whip out a cell phone and do this or that or catch it, so. Yeah,
but I don't know. I absolutely hate this title for a show, Welcome to Derry, because yes, I get it. Derry's the town name, okay, but I don't automatically assume Derry to It. I don't see and I don't think most people will do that as well. So it's you're gonna need to put in a colon or something,
It. Welcome to Derry.
Or welcome to Pennywise's Derry, or something. You have to throw in something to add it in. Like Warner Brothers Discovery actually had to do this with another show of theirs. After 2 seasons, they have this show called Pennyworth. And before John shows the image here, take a guess what franchise Pennyworth is about.
Is it about Batman?
You got it. You actually got it. You didn't need the subtitle, but they added it for season 3 because people weren't watching. So they added in the origin of Batman's butler.
Yeah.
Pennyworth, the origin of Batman's butler. Like, really? Yeah. Like, even just put in Batman's Pennyworth, but the origin story of this butler. It's like, okay. I was listening to this ad for Paramount Plus with Showtime or whatever, and they have all their shows, and it was like this very serious voice, and they're saying all the stuff that's coming, and one of which was like, and don't forget we have Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies. I'm like, what? What are we doing? Rise of the Pink Ladies. Like, this is just who's asking for this?
Yeah.
Like, what millennial Gen Z person is like Grease? You know what? I'm really curious about the prequel of how those pink ladies became the pink ladies.
Yeah,
like,
no
who cares?
way, dude. No
this
way.
This isn't Star Wars. Like, come on. But
I don't know how you get that greenlit.
Yeah, but see, there's the subtitle. You need the subtitle in there, because if it was just Rise of the Pink Ladies, you need nothing. But you throw in Grease, you throw in Batman's butler, you got a title. So that's what they need to work on over there at Welcome to Derry. Well,
it probably will. Probably they'll put it or something next to it.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. But we kind of mentioned it, and that's a scary show on. That one streaming service. We have another streaming service with a scary show, and it's a whole segment all about Netflix. What the Q?
What the is going on?
Yeah, so Warner Brothers Discovery is not the only company not letting IP die. Stranger Things will soon be a stage play and will premiere in late 2023 in London's West End, based on an original story by the show's creators. The play, entitled Stranger Things: The First Shadow, which will be set 25 years before the events of the Netflix series and center on younger versions of Jim Hopper, Joyce, Bob, and Henry Vecna Creel. The characters portrayed on screen by David Harbour, Winona Ryder, Sean Austin, Jamie Campbell Bower, respectively. The official logline is as follows: Hawkins, 1959, a regular town with regular worries. Young Jim Hopper's car won't start. Bob's sister won't take his radio show seriously, and Joyce just wants to graduate and get the hell out of town. But a new student arrives, and his family finds that a fresh start isn't so easy, and the shadows of the past have a long reach. I got a lot of questions with this, but are any of you excited about the play version of Stranger Things?
No. Kind of Stranger Things out.
Yeah, I don't know who would have asked for this, but I guess anything to keep it going. I just can't wait till you have to have watched this play in order to get something for the upcoming season of, Stranger Things.
When they're all 30
how
playing
Marvel's doing with their
17-year-olds.
stuff. Yeah.
I just don't understand this. Why are Hopper, Joyce, and Bob in this? I understand why, because they're the only characters that could feasibly be there 25 years before, because all the kids are kids. But like, why are they actually involved in this story with Vecna or whatever the name was of the bad guy in season 4? Like, didn't
Joyce and Hopper go to school together? Is that what they did?
I think so, but like, did Vecna go to school with them? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think he was like a guy that the what's his name found, white-haired dude found.
So it's like there's two different stories. We're gonna have an story that's actually interesting with Vecna and all this like Stranger Things stuff, and then we have, well, Hopper's car won't start and Joyce just wants to go to the dance, but like, who cares? Like, that has nothing to do, because you can't have these stories. It's like in Better Call Saul. Like, Gus, like the show wouldn't have worked unless there was Mike in there to be between Saul and Gus, because Saul never technically met Gus. I mean, sure, they had that one scene that they faked, in season 3 to make the two actors work together, but like, they're two different complete stories. So like, this is like, you have this Joyce and Hopper stuff, and then you have this Vecna stuff over here, and they don't come together until season 4 of Stranger Things. I don't get it. I don't know how this is a coherent story. But.
Yeah, unless they're mixing paths and they don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Yeah. But also, because Vecna, it's got to be a different. Because Vecna, the kid, right? The younger.
He went into like the Upside Down, right? Like, I'm sure there's so many people tweeting at us right now, so mad at us. But like, I know it's. Whatever. In the 50s, Vecna came into town, I believe, in that house, saw the spiders or whatever, and then did something, to his parents or something or other, and then went into the Upside Down, right? And then,
dude, it's been so long. I don't remember, but yeah, maybe there's more of a connection. Maybe they'll find a connection.
Yeah. We need a stage show to tell us what happened.
Yeah. I know. I'm not interested in watching a stage show of Stranger Things. Gotta be honest.
And the only thing that would be cool is if like they use like the effects like we saw in like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. That could be cool. Like seeing like a stage version with the effects and the Upside Down. Sure. That could be neat. But like as for the actual story, I just don't understand how it's gonna make any sense to have like teenage, high school Jim Hopper and Joyce like. They're not going to be solving anything. They're not going to have stranger things happen to them because they didn't have stranger things happen to them until season 1. But
and then are they going to put this on? Are they going to pull like what was that one that Disney did?
Hamilton.
Hamilton and put it on streaming, or are you going to have to go see it live?
I think
and then
many years after it's made its money. I think.
Yeah.
We didn't see Hamilton for many years until
but Hamilton didn't rely on a whole existing IP really, whereas this is kind of slots in somewhere. No,
Alexander Hamilton universe.
Yeah, American History, the musical.
But
well, I mean, how these things usually work, I feel like is. It premieres on London's West End, and then they see how it goes, and then it usually gets brought over to Broadway, and then we'll see how it goes on Broadway, and see.
Well, we'll see. We like to do this. We like to do a live check-in of what's going on, what's in the top 10 on Netflix, and we're gonna start off with TV right now, and we're gonna see if we can read off these. John, you probably can see them the best. Could you go 10-1 for us?
Let's see. I have number 1. Oh, 10-1. Yeah, okay.
10-1, please.
Number 10, Wednesday. Number 9, Passion in Gallivants, looks like.
Sweet.
Number 8, Married at First Sight. Number 7, Wrong Side of the Tracks. Number 6, Perfect Match. Number 5, Next Fashion. Number 4, Sex Life. Number 3, The Murdaugh Murders. There's a subtitle to that, but I can't read it. Number 2, Outer Banks, and number 1, Chris Rock Outrage.
Yeah, Selective Outrage.
Selective, right? Selective is too small for me to read.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay. Interesting 10. Obviously, Wednesday still chugging along.
Yeah, I know.
Still chugging along.
For them.
But
yeah,
a lot of reality. Yeah.
Well, that's what they have on Netflix now.
Yeah.
Reality and true crime by most of these. Yeah. That's all we got here. This is looking real rough. We'll get to movies in a bit, but man.
That's what they have. They've lost all their content, and now they're relying on the stuff they have. They're in loads of debt. What's cheap? Let's make a bunch of reality TV shows. It can bolster this huge quantity of TV that people apparently want. It makes sense why they're doing that.
Also, didn't the Murdaugh stuff get resolved this Friday? 3 days ago? How do they have a number 3 series out already?
Because I think that, it was like...
They got the spoilers ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, either that or were they in the process? Did they make 2 versions of it? One with a hung jury and one with a...
or maybe it's like something like with the making of a Murderer thing where they were already producing it. They had this one story made and then the
final
they're
episode.
They're going to do a follow-up, maybe a month or 2. Something like that. But yeah, that is a quick turnaround. Or maybe it's live, just like our number 1 show.
It's a stage show.
Oh, yeah. Also, how is it a TV show, first of all? But anyways, the Chris Rock special, we're going to talk about it here. The Chris Rock Selective Outrage. Because this wasn't just any Chris Rock special. This one was Netflix's first ever live stream event. And we all have our own different experiences with this. I want to start off with Kyle. What was your experience in trying to watch this live event, Chris Rock, Selective Outrage?
So I watched it the morning after.
Oh, okay.
I think I didn't watch it live. It was right there for me. I think it was like trending, and I just clicked on it. And as it was like a normal special by all accounts. There's two interesting choices, I think, by Netflix, where because his show was at 10 o'clock, I'm assuming, and it was in Baltimore. So I'm assuming he did a 7 o'clock show too, because that's how it usually works. So I would have assumed that you would have filmed a 7 o'clock and a 10 o'clock show, right? And the 10 o'clock show is going live. So I don't know if any of you watched it, but in the first thing, they had a mess up where they introduced him, and they had a voiceover where they introduced him twice by accident, and then he's like, wait, what? And then they kept that, which is fine if it's going live. Like, that's fine. And at the end, he, what I would assume is like his big send-off, big thing about Jada and Will Smith, he messed up the entire joke. He messed up the entire joke, which is fine. But he was on a roll, and it clearly kind of took some steam out of that, which is unfortunate for him. But I just was thinking, why not slot in the 7 o'clock taping that you did into those sections?
Just zip over that little piece and then get back on track. Like he did the rest of the joke again. Just cut the 30 seconds and be like, oh, all right, whatever. Like,
because sometimes SNL, when they screw up really bad, they will do the dress rehearsal version and put it in for the repeats or whatever like that. Maybe they're so like, this is live. We got to keep it live. This is how it happened. But like,
or do they not have the tech to turn it around that fast?
No, but even it says on the thing after, it was like live and edited.
Interesting.
So
maybe
I'm assuming he did a 7 o'clock show, because that's normally how this kind of thing works. And I would assume that you would have filmed it. So I would just slot it right in there. I mean, this is like definitely. Basic editors can do this kind of thing. So I don't know. So I just thought those were two interesting choices. I was able to find it fine. I mean, it's an interesting foray for Netflix. I can only assume it's a dress rehearsal for bigger things that they want to do live.
Definitely.
But it's funny to me that, in the first 2 minutes we have a mess up, and I know it's live, but it's like, wouldn't you want to make sure it's boom right on, like perfect?
It's the SNL thing. We don't go live because we're ready. We go live because it's 11:30. That's their thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, my experience with it. So I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a little bit of it, but I tried to watch it live. I went to tune in probably at 10:20. So 20 minutes in to it airing. And I couldn't find it anywhere on my Netflix. Like, it wasn't the big billboard when you sign on to Netflix at the top of the page. It wasn't in new releases. And I kept scrolling. Is it in new movies? Nope, it's not popular on Netflix. Trending now? Nothing. I couldn't find this thing. The only way I could find it was I went to the search. I typed in CHR, and then it popped up. Like, and this thing is live. This thing is the big thing that they've been promoting. It was all over their social media. It was they had this Instagram live countdown story. They were retweeting everyone on Twitter that talked about it. They were going all out with this. Instead, on my Netflix, it was for season 3 of Outer Banks, which I've never watched a single second of this show. Like, so why am I going to watch season 3 at 10 o'clock on a Saturday? Maybe I'm going to watch the show that's the 10 o'clock live show.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me, especially when they had a pre-show for this. They had a post-show reaction with David Spade and Dana Carvey. It's like, why is this not on the front page? I don't understand, for everybody. Like, I've watched a lot of comedies on Netflix. Instead, I'm getting this, whatever Outer Banks is. So I'm just wildly confused. But
I have two thoughts for you. One, did they have a rewind function while you're watching live, or is it just you're watching what they're giving you?
I think I was able, because I definitely was able to play from beginning.
That's what I wanted to know, because
so like on the list, it was saying this was like live. Like instead of it saying play, it said live, and then it also was like play from beginning. And I just clicked live to see where we were.
Yeah, because I'm curious, because I could see them not wanting you to join in the middle potentially, but if they have a play from start, that should be glued to their homepage for the next month. Like, that's very interesting. That was my second point. Is if they didn't want you to start from the middle, but that pretty much resolves it if you have the option to start from the start or to rejoin. So interesting.
But John, what was your situation?
So like Kyle, it was the top recommended one. I watched it Sunday night. I clicked into it and it waited and it was thinking, and it eventually fed me an error about my device not supporting live streaming. I have a couple of plugins on Firefox, as you know, most people do. I disabled all those and it still didn't work. I checked their help documentation and made sure that Firefox was up to date. It was all the way up to date. It says they support Windows XP and later. I'm on Windows 10, so I really couldn't figure out why I could not watch this show. I eventually went and opened Chrome and it played fine in Chrome. But I for some reason could not get it to work in Firefox, even with all the browsing plugins disabled. And when I was watching it in Chrome, every 2 or 3 minutes I'd get a little stutter where it would replay something like that. Like just like at first I was like, oh, does he have like a stutter? But then like the clapping was doing it, and like it was clearly a audio error. So it wasn't and I wasn't watching live. This was their recorded version. So.
But that's what's weird, where it's like it says this device does not support live streaming, but you're not watching it live.
Yeah, I'm watching the recording version. The recording.
Yeah, and other shows worked for you.
Yeah, I did check other shows and they worked fine. So
it's very strange.
Not quite sure what the issue was, and it's a little frustrating that this is supposed to be their big live stream like extravaganza, and I can't watch it even when I try and play by their rules and disable ad block and disable all the script blocking and all that and all the tracking blocking, and it's just like...
At least you didn't have to, get your password and bring your TV into your
my parents'
house. And
that'll be next week when they release whatever sports bowl they want to put online.
But this is a big event for them. I mean, we mentioned like next year they're going to have the SAG Awards. They're going to do those actually live on Netflix instead of on their YouTube channel. But I think this is all just a precursor to maybe someday, nothing's in stone yet, sports. I mean, that's where they make they make their money, all these services. So it's like, someday could sports be on Netflix? Well, now they have the live streaming technology, maybe.
I mean, they're already behind at this point.
Yeah.
Like Apple TV is merging up with MLS. Amazon has the NFL, and NBC Universal already has the Premier League and WWE. So it's like they better find their niche and find it quickly.
Yeah. Instead, they're spending a lot of money on their movies. Let's look at real quick top 10 movies. I got the list here, John. Mm-hmm. It's Mockingjay Part 2 for number 10. Number 9, Turbo. Number 8, Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. 7, Magic Mike XXL. Number 6, The Hangover Part 3. Number 5, Hunger Games Catching Fire. Let's see here. Number 4, The Hunger Games. Are we seeing a pattern?
Hunger Games, yes.
3, We Have a Ghost. 2, R.I.P.D. And then 1, This is Where I Leave You. One thing I want to point out with this, as we've talked about, they spend, $100, $200 million on all their films. Only one of these is a Netflix original, and something I've never heard of, We Have a Ghost. All these are the Hunger Games films, the third Hangover, This Is Where I Leave You, which is, let's see, what year was this? 2014 drama. Like, this is a mix of weird stuff. Then I'm hearing today that they're making a Nancy Meyers rom-com for a budget somewhere between $130 and $150 million.
What?
The Hollywood Reporter is saying
insane.
That is the most ever for a rom-com.
They're insane.
What is that money going towards?
Someone is lying. Where is the money going,
They have
dude?
to CGI all the kisses this time.
Maybe. Maybe. But yeah, what a mess. It's just like, because they don't stand out. They just, like, all of their, whatever that Reese Witherspoon, Ashton Kutcher movie is, you could give me 100 guesses. I would never be able to guess the title of that film. And they probably spent 100 million plus on that.
Is that the one
It's
where he
just-
was in the crowd and she was on stage and he had a sign?
That was the Marry
That was
Me,
a Charlize
Jennifer
Oh,
Theron.
right.
Lopez.
That was a completely different film. Okay, never
I think
mind.
it was Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson, I think, for Peacock.
Oh, yeah,
Oops.
you're right. I thought that was the Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron.
It's too many.
That was, yeah. Oh, forgetting the name of that one, but yeah, long shot. But yeah, so many rom-coms. That actually leads perfectly into our coming attraction.
Here are some exciting coming attractions.
A little long tonight, but hey, what else are we doing with our lives? Let's talk about Ghosted, the Apple TV Plus film dropping on April 21st. Cole, played by Chris Evans, meets Sadie playing by Ana de Armas. And even though it seems like they've had a great night together, she appears to have ghosted him. In a grand romantic gesture, even though it's seemingly very creepy from the trailer, he traces her to London, where it turns out she is actually a CIA operative. All right, so what do you guys think of this trailer of Ghosted?
Well, it certainly takes a right turn about halfway through it into something else. But, I mean, honestly, I didn't love it. I think it's going to be like a bad B movie rom-com. That's how it looks to me.
Like a $250 million Netflix original film?
Yeah. Something like that. But, I mean, I like both of them.
Yeah.
I like Chris Evans. I like Ana de Armas. I mean, the trailer sets it up. I just don't know. I think this could be a real stinker. I think it could be really bad.
Yeah, there definitely is a fake out in this trailer. It starts off like a generic rom-com, and then halfway through the trailer turns into this action adventure. I do like the role reversal that, we got this like action figure Chris Evans as like the sidekick, and being scared he swallowed a rock and all this stuff. However, I would have loved to have seen it not with someone who looks like an action star. Like, no offense to this man, but like maybe like Seth Rogen or some other kind of archetypal comedy nerd person in this role. It would make the first half of the movie maybe a little weirder because like
why is she
Chris
falling
Evans
for
was
him?
coming off pretty stalkerish. I saw all those blue texts on his phone with no responses, following her to London. That's kind of weird behavior for anyone, but maybe, you're Chris Evans, you can get a pass. But like, I don't know. I don't know if it would have worked for the first half, but I think the second half, because of course he's going to he'll be fine to run across these people. He's Captain America. He's okay.
Yeah.
But John, any thoughts on the film?
No, I think you guys summed it up pretty well. I think it's a little ridiculous that you would go to those lengths to find somebody. I think.
But I mean, if it's Ana de Armas,
romantic gesture, dude.
Yeah, I mean, one person's romantic gesture can be interpreted in a different way depending on
It's
who
a
you
restraining
ask.
order from somebody else.
Another person's jail time.
I don't want to go too deep into that, but I don't know. I mean, the role reversal does sound interesting, but yeah, I think they picked a little bit too actiony of a guy to fit in that reversed role, basically.
Yeah. And I'll just say some of the people behind the film. Yeah, it's directed by Dexter Fletcher, who did Rocket Man as his last film. And he also took over for Bryan Singer when he had to finish Bohemian Rhapsody. So looking at his track record, more musicals than action in his past. So that's interesting. I wouldn't have picked that it was coming from him. But then it was written by 4 people. And it's always, anytime you get over like 2 or 3, you're like, ugh, how many people had to write this? But 2 of which are kind of known for Community and the Tom Holland Spider-Man films. And then you have the other 2 known for the Zombieland and Deadpool movies. So I like Community, obviously, like, Zombieland, like the humor in there. So this could work, I'd be interested in it. But yeah, this is definitely...
It could work. I'm scared,
Apple,
though.
TV Plus movie. It is not a movie theater movie for me.
Yeah, for sure.
But all right, so that's Ghosted. I just wanted to talk about that. The trailer came out today. We have not any time, but we're going to do the quick checks because why not? So extra quick this week. Quick check. All right. Your thing is also on Apple TV Plus, Kyle,
Yes.
and that, what is it?
It is. I checked out the first episode of Shrinking. I've heard some people talking about it, so I was like, let me check it out. I am a Jason Segel fan, and, Harrison Ford's always good. So this show is about a therapist in Jason Segel that is dealing with his wife dying, and he has a teenage daughter, and he's going through a rough patch, and he's kind of keeping it real with his patients, and I think he's going to spend a bulk of the series kind of learning about himself through his patients, but I think his performance is really good. I think the characters surrounding him are decent. It looks nice. And there's enough heart, but also it's light in that, it's not too dark. So it's easier to kind of digest. It gives me almost Ted Lasso-ish vibes. It's not over the top positive, but it's more light in that you're always kind of rooting for him, and all these things. And Harrison Ford is a scene stealer in this show. He doesn't get many lines of dialogue, but when he does, it's very, very good. So I like the cast around him. I think it is a decent show, and I think I'm gonna check out a few more episodes because it is interesting. It's very light. It's an easy watch. If you're not into Jason Segel, I can see why you might not want to be into it. But I think I'm going to check out a few more.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Ted Lasso. It is created by Bill Lawrence, Brett Goldstein. So, some of the people behind Ted Lasso, and Roy Kent, and obviously Bill Lawrence, the creator of that, and Scrubs. So you have
Yeah,
so you definitely have the background with the people behind the camera. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in checking this out once I, get Apple TV Plus again. And it sounds like it's a better, or at least a lighter therapist show than The Patient, which we
oh my God, yeah.
So we got two forms of therapy. Pick which one works best for you. But yeah, so I'm definitely interested in that at some point, checking that out. All right, I'm going to talk about my quick check. And of course, a new Survivor season started. I'm going to talk about Survivor 44. We are back. 18 new players are back in Fiji to play my favorite game of human chess. And there's definitely some new, interesting additions this season, one of which they've always have the idols and advantages. And they're hidden immunity idols. This time, there's an advantage, an idol in a bird cage that everyone can see at camp. It's there. You can see it in the little bag in camp. And for a while, they don't know what's in it, but they know something is. And it's open to all. So it's like, so they could maybe see you trying to get it, which is like, oh, why does this person think they need it? Oh, this person now has this, and create chaos. And then it's like, well, when you do get it, you could put a decoy in the bag. And then you could kind of maybe trick somebody with like a fake thing, or kind of cause paranoia that way too. So I think it's an interesting kind of wrinkle they've added, having like this open for everyone to see idol that's sitting there at camp.
That is a good idea.
Outside of that, though, some things are starting to feel a bit repetitive. And I'm not, saying, okay, there's 44 seasons, of course, but specifically the last 4 seasons, because post season 40, this is what they consider the new era. They did a lot of changes. Season 40 was all winners, and it was a culmination of, those 20 years. The pandemic, that was 2020. The pandemic happened. They were off for some time before they could get back going. And in this new era, they shortened it. They changed some things around, but that's been the same thing now for 4 seasons, and it's the 3 tribes. Every premiere has the Savvy Sweat opening task for the Flint. there's always every episode, one from each tribe meets at this summit to risk their vote. And it's like, all right, we've seen these beats over and over. And it was interesting, maybe for seasons 41, 42, they were filmed back to back. So the players didn't see 41 that were playing in 42, but we did. And the same here. It's like, oh, there are a lot of things in 43 or in this 44, but we seen it. Sure, it's new for the players, but it's not new for us. So that's one of my complaints. I would love if they could switch it out. Maybe 2 tribes, maybe, a different, format with things. Like, they've done this for 44 seasons, and it hasn't always been 3 tribes doing this. So they can come up with new stuff.
Have they ever done one where they're all individual and they have to form the tribes on their own?
I'm trying to think the closest thing. I mean, the closest thing they did like this, they did One World, which was like this beach where it was 2 tribes still, but they were all living on like the same beach. So they could intermingle between each other, which was like an interesting idea. But yeah, I guess they never really, I feel like, started all individually to start. Normally it's 2 tribes and then they merge at one point and it becomes more of an individual game. But
another one that I was thinking of, they're all put on, they have a challenge. Whoever wins top 2 people in the challenge then have to choose the rest. Have they ever done that?
They've definitely done like schoolyard picks where they've done one season where like they all kind of like ranked like, oh, who's the best person here, or whatever. And they're like, oh, we love this person and this person. These are the 2 best. Like, well, okay. Well, now they're the 2 captains and they're picking tribes or something like that. And so they've done interesting like kind of switches and stuff like that. But one thing that happened that was big in this premiere episode was like the medical issues. There's always been, some people maybe evacuated or pulled from the game because of medical, stuff that happens. But one guy, 2 minutes into the game, in the first challenge, bashes his head into this kind of wooden structure thing. And he's later pulled, from the game. But in this challenge, they paused the challenge after they realized what's going on. I completely understand this decision. Yes, you got to pause this. This guy has blood gushing from his head. It's a head injury. Yes, pause it. Let's figure this out. Later, they may have been a little bit overly cautious because like there was this one, the immunity challenge, and they're doing this thing, and one was feeling, I'm like lightheaded or whatever. And it's like, all right, pause. We're done. Hang on. Pause it. Nobody move. Medic, come in. And it just seems like it was exhaustion. Like he, sat down for a bit in the shade. He seems to be okay. And I get it. They got to be cautious. They don't want to have a medical issue on their hand. But it's like, okay, not every single challenge needs a timeout. Like in this situation, it's like, no. If he's feeling tired, he could sit. He could sit if he wants. And then they could keep the challenge going. Yeah, sure, the tribe would be down a member. But hey, that's what it is. That's the game. But they just love how showing how like dangerous it is nowadays. Like, because it's 26 days, it's not the 39, so it's like, see, look how hard it is. Look how hard, all these medical issues. It's like, well, it's also not something that we should be bragging about, that you're pushing these people to like near death. But
next they'll be getting frostbite,
Yeah, they're not leaving Fiji for a while, I'll tell you that. But all right, real quick, John, what is your quick check?
Well, unsurprisingly, I have a game. It's called The Rhythm Sprout. I believe I saw an advertisement on Reddit or a post on Reddit about this a couple years ago. Play the demo. It's a rhythm game, if that wasn't obvious. It's pretty simple. There's 3 buttons to press. They correspond to different colors. There's a yellow block and a pink block and a blue block, and they all do different things. The music's pretty good in my opinion. As you go through a course, you'll be hitting the red, the pink, the yellow, and the blue blocks, and then you'll encounter an enemy, and it changes where the red and the yellow blocks are attacks, and the blue is like dodging or blocking, and so there's a little bit of a variety to it. The idea is that you are an onion, which is where the sprout comes from, and you're helping King Broccoli find his daughter and get rid of the sweets that are invading
Broccolina.
Yeah. Get rid of the sweets that are invading the area, and I was happy to play the demo when I did, and they released a new demo, and I was happy to play that, and eventually the publisher gave me a key, and I was happy to play the game, and I was very happy to see that after I beat the game, there is a prequel story, and there's also a side story, so there's actually quite a lot of content that they made for this. And yeah, I really enjoyed this type of game, even though I'm maybe not the best at it. But I had a good time playing this, and I think I've only played like maybe a third of the game so far, just because I finished the main story, but I haven't really finished much else because it actually gets pretty hard. But yeah, I enjoyed it and definitely would recommend checking it out.
Yeah, and where can they play this again?
They can download this on Steam. I believe they are also looking to bring it to some consoles if they have not already. So if you search Rhythm Sprout, I'm sure you'll find out some more information.
Cool. Well, all right, that is it this week. I know we went a little long, but we had a lot to squeeze in because, again, last week we did the Oscar predictions, and next week we got another big show, a doubleheader. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us, the season finale of that. It airs the same exact night as the Oscars, which, of course, we're going to recap that. And I mentioned the Oscars. Be sure to listen and watch our Oscar prediction special where we took on the good, the bad, and the watchable and Oscar predictions. We also have some extra bonus predictions only available on social media, so check those out too. And you can, of course, find those on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Do Redundancy. And you can find episodes of the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, DoRedundancy.com. And of course, we're live Monday nights on Twitch, twitch.tv/DoRedundancy, 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. I got to thank both of you guys for joining me tonight, doing this kind of grab bag episode of the podcast. John directing the show, putting it up on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. I couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you. But until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Do Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.